Sorry, the last video got cut off. But yeah, so what I was saying, so that's where the timber is reclaimed from, right? So those places, so reclaim just means they're going to knock the building down. So rather than just throwing the wood away, they go in there and they grab it and obviously sell it, cut it to usable sizes, sell it as reclaimed slash recycled. It means the same thing. Reclaimed, recycled means the same thing. All right. So that's where they get it from. Now, and these are the important takeaways. It's not sustainable, right? Do you put that in there? It's not sustainable because you're getting it from 100-year-old buildings, and once it's gone, it's gone. I wouldn't necessarily put that in. It's hang on a second. Yeah, so it allows you to obtain, or it gives you an option to obtain or purchase timber that you can't that they can't get anymore, right? That's illegal to get those species of timber for the most part from old growth forests. All right, so it gives you an option to then purchase that particular material as they're reclaimed that you would not normally be able to get anymore in this day and age because, like I said, it's illegal to get a lot of those species from clear-cut forests. One of the problems that because it allows you to get these timbers, it allows you to get your hands on these rare timbers, they're much, much more expensive than sustainably sourced plantation timbers. Okay, because they're more, it's a environmentally friendly practice because you're using existing wood that's already been cut down, right? You're repurposing timber. It's an environmentally friendly practice. Again, it's more expensive because you can't get these timbers anywhere else. Yeah, more expensive than sustainably sourced radiata pine or Tasmanian oak, for example. Okay, which is one of the problems with trying to purchase sort of green materials, so to speak. And by that I mean, materials which have a less impact on the environment than others. Pretty much, I did read through your Oregon part here, and you've touched on it in bits and pieces. So that's, I guess, the main takeaway about in terms of the price and where it's sourced from, and that's the reason why the pricing is so high. And basically, your conclusion will be is that it's way too expensive for you to purchase to build your project out of. All right, that's the main takeaway. So basically in this paragraph here, you'll write through the properties, which I'm sort of going through now. Yeah, so now reclaimed Australian hardwoods, they are extremely dense. They are extremely dense materials, perfect for a desk because they are so, as I said, so dense, such hard timbers. All right, but to the point where they're too hard to work with. All right, they blunt tools because of their density. You need to pre-drill any holes. They can snap tools, adding to the cost of actually making quality furniture out of these materials. Right, so even though it is a hard-wearing timber, dense timber, it's too dense to work with for the type of project you want to make. All right, so I'm basically giving you reasons not to purchase the timber. Reasons to purchase it. It could be aesthetics as well, right? So again, because they're so old, and again, they're floorboards, they're from docks, they are going to have defects in them, man-made defects, a lot of them in the terms of like the oxidization around bolts, nails and other screws and fittings. It's been sitting there and sort of rusting away within the timber for over 100 years. You have water damage. Discoloration, so the color will change depending on where the timber came from, which is another reason why it's really hard to identify what actual species of timber it is. All right, so they're the main properties in terms of cost, availability, and properties. Yeah, so even though it's a suitable material from an environmental standpoint, from an actual sort of properties in terms of density and possibly aesthetics, it's not in terms of cost. All right, for your project. All right, so yeah, basically include that information in a couple of paragraphs here. State that you actually went to these one, or just pick one. Ironwoods is a good one. To say that you actually physically went to one of those places to view what timbers they had on offer. All right. Right, this is perfect. Right, this is everything you've written here is great. The only thing I would possibly add here is add something along the lines of contrary to reclaimed Australian hardwoods, the area in which I live has a lot of, how can you say it? Basically, what I'm trying to say is where you live, there's a lot of houses being renovated that were built in this time period. So the option to use Oregon as the main source of material is quite plausible, given the fact that it should be relatively easy to get your hands on or to obtain reclaimed Oregon. So something along the lines of that. You could even say that you're walking your dog one day and there was a construction site and you asked the guy if you could have some. That's another narrative that you might want to sort of add in here as well. Yeah. Where would you put that though? Would you put that in here? Or would you put in your construction steps? Oregon. Maybe ongoing evaluation. Yeah, just add the bit about, contrary to reclaimed Australian hardwoods, it's quite plausible that you could obtain quite easily Oregon due to the fact that in your local area where you live, there are a lot of houses being redeveloped that use this timber as a main, or use this timber as its main framing structure, something along those lines. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that's good. Plywood's good. The only thing I would say here is this sentence here: plywood is a blonde-colored wood that is manufactured by. The color of plywood depends upon the material that it's made from. Right, the most common plywood that we have here in Australia is plywood made from radiata pine plantation trees, hence why it's primarily blonde color. All right, so just, I guess, fix that opening sentence just to state that plywood is a wood manufactured by continuously gluing small veneers of timber together. The color of the timber is dependent upon the species of timber or species of tree. So the color of the plywood is dependent upon the species of tree that the veneers are made from. Boom, put that in. All right, which in Australia is typically pine or radiata pine. Other than that, that is good. Excellent. The only thing, again, I'd add here is something about it being reclaimed. All right, so possibly another paragraph below, 2 or 3 sentences outlining that Jarrah is also, Jarrah, what can I say? Reclaimed Jarrah is readily available at most recycled or reclaimed timber yards, recycled or reclaimed timber yards, but suffers the same issues that reclaimed Australian hardwood has, in that because it's reclaimed and so old, it's much, much more expensive. All right. All right, Tasmanian oak, that doesn't look like Tasmanian oak to me. That looks like radiata pine. So just get a new picture. All right, that's not Tassie oak. That doesn't look like plywood either. That's radiata pine. I guess that's Oregon. All right, here you want to write a conclusion. Okay, so you've got you're summarizing everything here. You just have to add another column to the table for the Australian hardwoods. I guess the availability would be readily, because there's lots of it. Cost, very expensive. Color, it varies from, I guess if you go to the Ironwood website and click on materials, it actually tells you a description of the colors, but it can vary between gray, red, straw, light brown, dark brown, depending on the species pretty much. Grain, wavy. Be careful here. Okay, so Jarrah, you've got grain straight. Here you've written that it's wavy. Interlocking grain, right? Interlocking grain. So here you've written it straight, but up here you've said it's interlocking. Interlocking just means wavy. Okay, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Density high, Jenker hardness, yep. Workability moderate. Yep. High. All right, so all this is good. Only thing is, okay, uses. You're making timber furniture, so why are you referencing sawmill, warehouse construction, railway ties? So these are all, like even here, flooring, furniture. Okay, that's okay. Paneling, flooring. Again, I'd probably get rid of that. Stairs, flooring, furniture. Yeah, it's okay. Radiata pine, joinery, furniture, flooring. Again, just get rid of some of the ones that aren't really related. Like they don't need to be there. Decking, you're not building a deck. And like Oregon, really the only main use is framing walls for houses, pretty much. Yeah, so and then you want to add a conclusion here. Okay, so what did you find? Okay, a conclusion again. So you've got your introduction. This is what I'm looking for in a material. So from my research, I want to sort of identify, gain knowledge in environmentally sustainable materials that I could potentially build my project out of, or help build my project out of, something along those lines. The material also needs to be strong or dense enough to withstand day-to-day uses of being a desk. You know, items being placed on it, moved around, the drawer fronts being accessed by someone's hand, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. And then conclusion, what did you find? So from my research, the main material I'm going to pick is this, Oregon. I was able to source a local supplier from a local building site who has an ample supply of Oregon. He decided to donate it to me for free. Oregon is suitable for this project because, again, how is Oregon fit in with everything you've set out to do within your project? It's got straight grain, which is synonymous with modern timber. Modern timbers have straight grain because they grow fast. Tasmanian oak has straight grain. All right, so modern timbers have straight grain, which for the most part Oregon does. Is it dense enough for the project? Again, yes. It's workability. It's easily worked by hand tools, using hand tools as well as machines, which gives you the option to show off your skills in woodworking using both machines and construct and hand tool construction or manual construction. while also still being able to use, if possible, for parts of your project where if you don't have enough Oregon, or other parts where you may need to use an alternate material because Oregon doesn't suit the need, then you have the option of choosing, again, radiata pine, plywood, or Tasmanian oak, because each of these three materials are sustainably sourced from plantation forests. All right, again, that whole narrative of um, lowering your impact on the environment or reducing your overall impact on the environment. All right, so again, every time you research something, you need to have, again, the heading, introduction, outlining what it is you're trying to research, what information you're trying to gain, information and knowledge. Are you trying to gain or reinforce existing knowledge? And then your conclusion to what you actually found and how it's going to contribute to you designing your project, or the overall success of your project. Adhesives, same thing. What are you looking for in a glue? It's obvious, but state the obvious. Okay, Parfex is the brand. Okay, PVA glue is PVA glue. All right, so just be careful with that. So Parfex brand, PVA glue. All right, Parfex. So Parfex brand wood glue is a PVA based non-toxic adhesive. All right, so Parfex brand glue, sorry, Parfix brand wood glue is a PVA based non-toxic blah blah blah. Okay, all this is good. Put your okay, so text wrap. That's what we want. All right, what you can do, probably already done. Yeah, okay. So wrap the text, put the cost underneath the actual. God, what have I done? Huh? Underneath the actual man, come on. Here we go. Under the bottle like that. All right, and paragraphs are your friend. So what I'm seeing here is a massive wall of text. Okay, which isn't a bad thing. You have used paragraphs here and here. You have used a paragraph here where you didn't need to put one. Let's go to get back up on there. Yeah, again, it's hard to fault what you've actually written here, so it's really good, especially this about the fact that under the right conditions it does biodegrade or degrades. All right, so that's really good. Blah blah blah. Yep, you got the health and safety stuff there. Okay, again, Sikabond is the brand. Okay, so Sika, I think, is the brand. SIKA is the brand itself. All right, and the actual product there is Tech Grip. Okay, so just be careful with that. So Sikabond, yeah, polyurethane adhesive, or Tech Grip is what they call it. So Sikabond Tech Grip is a polyurethane adhesive. That's how you want to start that sentence off. That's all good. When applied sparingly, I don't know if you've got it here, but how you actually apply it is you have to wet both the surfaces. So both the surfaces need to be wet with water before the adhesive is applied, because it needs water to start the chemical reaction for the glue to actually go off. So I'd incorporate that somewhere around the top here where you talk about how it's applied. Yep, this part here is good. Again, this section here, right, this is almost, cut this out, put it in a conclusion. So in conduction, so all you're trying to do here, so when you get to this part of the research on adhesives, all you're trying to do is, again, adhesives, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a glue suitable for, joining my timber together, or gluing my project together. It's basically what you're looking for, right? So all you're doing here is effectively reporting on factual information about the glue. Same thing here. You've got your summary, and then put your conclusion. All right. Have a conclusion. So from my conclusion, I'm going to select PVA glue because it's relatively slow drying. In other words, it has, allows for workability. So you have ample time to join apply the glue, attach pieces together, clamp everything up, and make modifications if any errors happen during the glue up. It dries clear, which means you won't see the actual seams. It's water soluble, meaning you can clean it up with water if you get any problems or spills or anything like that, and it's non-toxic, and it's cheap, right? So all these reasons of why it's good. Okay, and then when it comes time to, and as well, you said it's like biodegradable. We're down here. This basically this whole paragraph here goes into cut that. Oh, God damn it. Goes into your conclusion because it forms a part of the conclusion. From my information, this is what I discovered. I'm going to pick this one for this reason. I'm not going to pick this one for these reasons. Okay, because every single person in the state pretty much is going to have PVA glue, polyurethane glue, resins, epoxy resins as their research, right? Everyone's research here is going to look identical, right? This whole section here, materials, blah, blah, blah. For the most part, they'll skip over it. They'll probably stop and they'll read one of these and that's it. All right. Again, which is why all of these need to be as well written as the next. So they could pick any one of these to read and then they'll form their assessment based on how you've written the one thing. And if you've got a conclusion, they'll read that for sure. So the conclusion is where you really want to put, again, your thoughts and understandings of everything you've learned and justifying your timber selections or justifying your material selections. All right, so again, this is where you're justifying why you chose one particular glue over the other based on your research. I'd also potentially, you got a bit of white space here, which is what we don't necessarily want. So you can, what I'd probably suggest you do is add another material, another adhesive, sorry, in epoxy resin. So Araldite's a good one there, just in case you need to glue any metal down, for example. All right, so that's good. What is this? Okay, this information is good. I just don't know what it's in relation to or where it goes. Is this a part of finishes? So again, this is where you need to have like some kind of an introduction giving context to what this information is for. All right, in other words, why have you got this information here? What's it for? How does it help you make choices on, again, material selections or finishes or anything like that? Those are good. Somewhere in here, will break down with constant contact, relatively low levels of VOC. Okay, so this is where the whole VOC thing applies. Yeah, so again, this needs to have some kind of introduction. Maybe put this underneath the finishes heading. So finishes, introduction, and then something about you discovering Vox, because I'd never heard of it before. This is all new to me. All right, so give context to what this information is, place it under your introduction, and then have your first finish sitting, I guess, below that. If you can try and squeeze all that, that should fit on one page, right? That and that, maybe. Yeah, what was I going to say? So here you've got, due to water-based properties, this particular finish is biodegradable and will break down when in contact with natural environment, making it not suitable for outdoor or prolonged outdoor use. Full stop. This finish harbors relatively low levels of VOC. Full stop. Cleaning, this involves thorough sanding. Now also make sure that here, somewhere in here, in terms of cleanup, just using water. Yep, so, okay, yep, cool. Clean up with water, that's good. And sorry, back here, just double check. We've got a tin at school. Double check these figures because I don't know how accurate they are. It dries me way quicker than 24 hours. I don't know about the cure day. All right, if you got this information off the actual Cabots website, then I guess it is what it is. But I'd triple check or double check this information because I don't know how accurate it is. It dries much faster than that. It dries faster than oil based. I'm not sure about the curing time, but I know it dries faster. You could even like put little, if it doesn't take up too much space, you could even put like little subheadings here. So just noticing your paragraphs, you're basically putting like one paragraph, so a little heading saying application. Yeah, application could be here. Yeah, first paragraph here, applications, what it's used for, how do I actually apply it, drying time, that's all the one thing. Health and safety is another paragraph here. I guess aesthetics or finished color, finished properties, finished color, cost. Assuming they all have the same sort of like little subheadings that I just mentioned there. Again, it just makes it easier for someone to break down what's in all the paragraphs. Um, You'd have to double check this because Scandinavian oil is three three chemicals, I guess. It's varnish, or it depends on the brand, but I think that Feast Watson is 1/3 polyurethane, 1/3 methylated spirits, 1/3 linseed oil. So the idea is that the linseed oil penetrates into the actual timber while the thin coat of polyurethane sits on top. All right. Traditional Scandinavian oil is an actual oil, but modern Scandinavian oil is a bit of a hybrid between oil and polyurethane. All right, so just I guess double check that. You could possibly leave that in. No one's going to know. You could even just write here, true Scandinavian oil is also fully biodegradable. Um, that's fine. Do you need any more finishes? I'm just a bit concerned. I know your folio is like 50 odd, 54 pages. I'm just a bit concerned that you haven't got enough quantity. The quality's there. It's just the quantity. So you should definitely add epoxy resin, particularly into this gap here. Again, araldite. Do you need any more finishes? Water-based polyurethane, oil-based polyurethane, Scandinavian oil. You could just add linseed oil, straight linseed oil. Add one more, so you got 4 finishes, linseed oil. But you wouldn't pick it because it offers actually no surface protection. So it's just literally like oil. It penetrates the timber to prevent moisture from getting in. All right, boiled linseed oil. All right, add that to your finishes to search. All right, other stuff you want to add to this conclusion, right? So again, from your research, you want to pick one of these finishes. Which finish are you going to pick? Right? Because you're basically just summarizing what you've already written here. Right? That's what you've done in your conclusion. You haven't really concluded anything. Right? So from your research, what are you going to pick? Right, so in your introduction, you've written, in this section of my research, I'll be furthering my knowledge of finishes that will be appropriate for my project. My knowledge prior to research is limited to oil and water-based polyurethanes. I intend on finding the most appropriate finish for my design that protects from the damage of frequent use, such as scratches or scuffs made by plates, pens, cups. I intend on finding the most appropriate finish for my design that protects from the damage of frequent use, such as scratches. Yep. And that's a bit of a random thing to add at the end of it all. I intended to find the particular scratches, scuffs. Full stop. How the finish impacts the environment, or the environmental impact the finish has, will also be considered in the finish I select. All right, and this is the other issue I've got here. You've written here in this section. Yeah, where are we here? I'll be furthering my knowledge of finishes that will be appropriate for my project. My knowledge prior to research is limited to only oil and water-based polyurethanes. So you're saying that you already know most of what there is to know about oil and water-based. So if you want to expand your knowledge, why are you only researching one other finish? All right, again, to get a band 6 or a band 5, you've got to provide extensive knowledge or extensive research. And researching just one finish that you're unfamiliar with doesn't do that. So you'd also want to incorporate, as I said, linseed oil into your research. And I'd probably recommend this website here. So I'm just going to post the link there. Osmo is what it's called, wood finishes. They make, they have about they've got about 3 or 4 different types of finishes, but basically they specialize mainly in like natural finishes. So wax is what they make as well. So they make a wax finish. It's completely natural and biodegradable. All right. So the problem is it's a wax finish, so it wears off over time. So you have to keep applying it. All right. They also make another one that's a cross between linseed oil. It's similar to Scandinavian oil in that it's linseed oil mixed with wax. So like Scandinavian oil, how you have the linseed oil penetrates into the timber, the polyurethane sits on top. This is the same thing, except linseed oil penetrates into the timber and a wax cover sits on top. All right, so I'd probably recommend, or I do recommend, you research at least another 2 finishes, one being linseed oil and the other being like a wax-based finish. Okay, from this website here. It's basically the one that Evan used. So if you go to Evan's design folio that I've shared, he used this finish for his project. So if you want to know the exact finish that he used, go open up his folio and use that finish, or sorry, put research for that finish into your folio. All right. And then basically rewrite this whole conclusion, because this isn't a conclusion. All right. This is just a summary. All right. So from your findings, you're going to pick that Osmo wax hard coat because it's made from 100% beeswax. I'm making this up, by the way. It's made from 100% beeswax. Therefore, it is environmentally friendly and sustainable. It biodegrades. The only problem is it's very expensive because it's a natural product, and it needs to be reapplied as the finish wears off. That makes sense. All right. You could argue that you could even put in your conclusion that oil-based polyurethane is the most appropriate finish for this application because of the nature of a tabletop or a desk. Again, it gets scuffed, abrasions. Polyurethane will help prevent that. However, it's has the most negative impact on the environment because it is a chemical that, as you said, doesn't biodegrade, etc. All right, so therefore you're actually making a proper informed decision based on your findings, based on your research and your knowledge of these finishes. Okay. Also, natural wax products don't really alter the color of the timber as much as oil-based products. All right, they preserve the natural color of the timber, where oil-based turns them an amber color or darkens them. Okay, now because I've told you to add like another 2 or 3 finishes, so you don't go over pages, basically all the stuff here, I'll say delete it, but stains are stains, right? All a stain is pigmented liquid that alters the color of the timber. All right, you have water-based stains and you have oil-based stains. Water-based stains are much, much thinner and you have to do multiple coats to get to the desired stain color, where oil-based are much thicker. All right, and I guess vibrant, one coat's enough. So pretty much what I would do here is you don't need all this information. All right, you pretty much just need maybe half a page outlining what stains are and I guess the difference between an oil-based stain and a water-based stain, which there's not much, right? Yeah, that's what a stain is. All right, and then in your conclusion, you're basically going to say because actually this will be an ongoing evaluation, right? So yeah, can you in your folio when you update this put in red pen or sorry red writing above or below or around here ongoing evaluation in big bold letters? Because what will happen is when you go to do your construction steps and you lay out your timber, in your construction steps, you'll say that you didn't realize how orange the material is. It's too orange for what you want, so you'll need to alter the color to better suit the modern aesthetic that you're going for. To do that, you'll use stains. So this will be an part of your ongoing evaluation. Yep. All right. That's the play. So you got too much information on stains. All right. You basically, like I said, need half a page information max, effectively just saying that it just stains the timber a certain color, and you still need to put a clear coat over the top of it. You still need to put a finish over the top. Um, yeah, or just pick one of these and keep that. If you're confused about what I've said here, just come and see me in class or send me an email when you go to update this section here. But it's too much information. You've got what 3 pages on stains. It's not necessary over 3. 1, 2, 3, and a bit. Again, the issue that you've got before is you've only got 2. Try and have 3 or 4 different types of finish of hardware. Have a look at Emma's folio. I think she only had 3. So you've got standard, you've got soft close. Even use like a different brand. There's ones that are real cheap from Bunnings. They're like $3 and they're white. So add that into this white space underneath. Um, again, introduction, draw runners. What are you looking for in a draw runner? Why are you picking draw runners? Draw runners. Same as handles. Introduction into handles. And again, a conclusion. So you want like a hardware. So you got hardware conclusion. From my research, I'm going to select soft close draw runners, or standard, whatever which one. Explain why. If you want the soft close, just for the added feature, for the added feature of soft close, or if you want the standard because they're cheaper to save costs. End of the day, they're going to do the same thing. All right, handles. Why handles? Because you need a method. Again, it needs silly, but really the main reasons why you pick a certain handle is because number one, the function, so you can physically open the drawer, and number two, the aesthetics, so it fits in with the aesthetics. So again, I don't know if these handles right now are suitable. Once your project is finished, you might need to, or you probably will need to update this, depending on the actual finish. Depending on the actual handle you pick. Okay. But what you've written here is fine for now. But again, you want to put a conclusion. All right, for my project, I'm going to pick this brass one, because again, it complements the timber. It contrasts the timber depending on what color handle you get. It functions the way it does, allow me to easily open and close drawers. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so really, the reason why you pick a handle, like I said, is based on its function and its aesthetics. All right, all this is great. Like your joints are good, introduction's good, the amount of content you've got here is good. The only thing I will suggest is possibly using different images. All right, because every kid in the state is going to go and type in biscuit joint, Google Images, and pick one of the first 4 images that show up. All right, so you got a couple of options with this. It's not a make or break thing. It's just kind of trying to separate your folio from everyone else's. All right, if you can be bothered, go into SketchUp and physically draw each and every one of these joints. All right, again, it's not necessary, but I've seen these pictures being used 1,000 times. So, or just go into Google Images and scroll down a couple of times and just use a different image. All right. Otherwise, all this is really good. Every kid in the state's going to have the same thing. The main thing is just to make sure that once your project has been built, that every single joint on your project is here in your research. So there'll probably be a couple of joints on your project that you haven't listed here. Again, you'll just need to make sure that you update that. All right, to have that continuity between your design folio and the actual project you make. Okay, cool. So selection and justification. So it is a really, really important part, right? And it's one of the main parts of the folio that will get you a large portion of marks. All right. Anyone can go online and search water-based polyurethane properties, copy and paste it, and stick it in a design folio. All right. The reason why selection and justification is so important is because it allows you to convey your thoughts, your knowledge and understanding of all these things you've researched and how they relate to you and your project, and the project you want to make. It's where you show your understanding and knowledge of woodworking, pretty much. Oops, what have I done? So with that in mind, the good thing about writing conclusions at the end of all your main parts of the research is your conclusions are basically selection and justification. All right, and this is part of the reason why I recommend at the end of every section you write a conclusion, because if you get a HSC marker that sits here and doesn't read your conclusions, you've got a backup version of it here. Right, so everything that you write for these justifications should be effectively a summary of your conclusions for that section, if that makes sense. So you're almost doubling up with this part, but it is crucial. Yeah, so pretty much what you've got here is basically what you should have up here as well. right? So consider like this table that you're creating, selection and justification, almost a summary of your research findings. It's a summary of your conclusions. All right. How you've presented it's fine. Materials, other finishes. Yeah, so like again here you have to go back and fix this sort of stuff. So joints, desktop, you're going to be using a domino, and you haven't listed a domino here. So you'll add domino joint to there, selection domino, and then explain why. Because it's a fast and efficient method and strong method of laminating timber together. All right, and again, you want to have more than 2 options. You want to try and have at least 4 or 5 options to get to that extensive knowledge. Yeah, so all your justifications are great. Like I said, just make sure that once your project has been built, that you go back and revisit this section here to make sure that every single choice that's on your project is listed here. Right, so for example, if you end up doing a different joint, this needs to be updated and changed. All right, so what you've written is good. Just make sure that once your project's finished, you go back and just double check to make sure that everything that's evidenced in your project is also reflected in your folio. All right, it's really, really crucial, but everything so far seems good. Your handles are missing. That's all I can think of at the moment. All right, development of idea. All right, introduction, development of ideas. You got a major heading, introduction. What are you trying to do here? Sketch potential designs. So using all the knowledge and information you've gained from the previous sections in research or from your research, you are now in a position where you've obtained enough knowledge to be able to start actually designing your project and what your project will look like. One thing I would do here is reference your existing designs research, right? So I do like the asymmetry of the design. I got this idea from researching existing designs, specifically design one. All right, so you're actually referencing your research. All right, again, that's the kind of thing you need to do to get top marks. Yeah, so all the design elements in this particular design that is evidenced in in your existing designs, incorporate that here into your analysis. So which means because you'll be adding, or sorry, because you should be adding these extra replacing your existing research with these style of designs, it'll make it easier for you to explain, where you came up with this design from, or where you gain inspiration for your design from. Again, you got the Art Deco top. Yep, it's good. It shows an evolution of design. You could, oh no, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. And you haven't got your final design, or it's not showing. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Like, your final design is pretty much one of these, right? I'm assuming you didn't actually do your final design because you probably wait till your project's finished and then just draw what you see, which is fine, because you've shown me evidence here that you can draw properly. These are basically final designs anyway. Yeah, so that's all good. You haven't officially got the final design, but that's cool. What you can do is put it there is a way where you can put this at landscape. So at the moment, yeah, you can put the page on the side to show like a 3D render of your project instead of being on a portrait piece of paper like this is. Flip it on the side. Cutting list is good. Again, double check it once your project's finished. Yeah, because like even this will change, right? So you got the top and bottom's now 6, and the sides is now 12. Sure, it's and yeah, like you sure it's a square? I don't think that's right. I don't think so. You haven't got measurements on it. What's the width of the front? What's the width here? Oh, here we go. So 300. Yeah, so like here you've got the width of your drawers being 300 and what's that, 50? But here in your cutting list, it's wrong. So here you've got in your cutting list is 600 wide, 650. Yeah, so some of these measurements are out. A lot of them you won't know until you really make your project. All right, but for the sake of your folio, that's a good place to start. Again, just make sure you go back and change these values before your final HSC submission. Yep, cool. You got the other headings in there. All right, so everything's good in order. You're on the right track. You've just got to make those extra, all the changes that I suggested in the previous video, plus this video as well, just to show that extensive knowledge, that extensive research. All right, because right now you're kind of sitting in the sound/thorough, and we want to try and bump you into that extensive area. All right. The other thing I want to say is so that's just 17 research development ideas section. Okay, this is my presentation. So, yeah, that's got to be updated. Your actual presentation, just be real. Okay, a couple of things. Try to not use. You can keep the font here, but in your headings, try to keep change the font to something like an Arial and bold it. Add a bit of color. Right, try to refrain from using the black and white. Not so much text color, the background color, wherever that is. I don't think I can change it. I can. I don't know, pick green, whatever. And keep it consistent. So you might want to put your major headings as a certain color, your second sort of headings as one color, and your third headings as another color. All right, you can keep the grayscale. These are all just suggestions, just to make it a little bit more appealing to look at. So like even these headings here, if we go background color, for example, let's go with this orange, and then use an even light orange, something like that. Just makes it stand out, just makes it look more presentable. All right, and that might be the difference between like an extra mark or two, to be honest with you. The other thing you got to worry about too is, your actual border. Sorry, not your border, your margins. So I noticed on a few of your pages, like here, for example, you've got this, this piece of, yep. I notice here that like you've got this picture on there past the margin here, so past the border. Yeah, so on this page here, you got the right indent or margin is all the way out here, and on this page, yeah, your printers won't be able to print that. All right, so it's something to be conscious of. Like if you try and adjust, and I know you've done that to try and gain some space, but you do have some white space at the bottom of a lot of your pages here. So there's a good chance you can afford to just squish these margins in a little bit. Oh, it might be a bit of a pain to do. Yeah, it's just something to be conscious of. Like printers won't be able to print that because it's right on the edge of the piece of paper. You got to have some kind of a border or a margin, right? So you will need to have a go and fix that. And again, just making sure your heading, sorry, your color is all consistent. Again, your headings, bold, capital letters where they need to be. Like here, for example, you've got this background as blue. All of a sudden, everything's gray, and then okay, I'm going to throw a bit of blue in there, and then I think it disappears. Oh no, here it is again, and there. Yeah, so again, just trying to make the whole layout consistent. Your font size too is okay, size 12. If you run out of space, again, it might be a bit of a pain, but you can drop it down to 11. I wouldn't go any less than that. Otherwise, just keep it as 12. All right. So just those minor things to fix with your layout. Otherwise, everything's looking in good shape.